Good evening. The Toronto Raptors lose 105-96 to the Boston Celtics. They go, sorry, sitting down for this one, folks. 12.5. Be nice. I'll be nice to them and I'll say that they were 13% from three. We'll round up. We'll give them the 0.5. Pretty brutal. 4 for 32 from three. And they ended up only losing by 9 somehow. Kind of an odd game in that regard. But yeah, they said at the start of the game, the Raptors have had like the best or one of the best 3-point percentages since the trade. That definitely a little bit of Rain Man here. Definitely fell off. Pascal 0 for 6, Scotty 0 for 2, Porter 0 for 2, Barrett 0 for 4, Quickly 2 for 7, Thad 0 for 1, Boucher 0 for 4, McDaniels 1 for 3, Schroeder 1 for 3. So everybody who played at least had a 3 ball up, and McDaniels hits 1, Quickly hits 2, and Schroeder hits 1, and that's it. And I think they said that the Raptors didn't hit a 3-pointer in the second half. Devlin kept saying that, but I swear to Christ, which I do every night before bed, you have to, that they hadn't had one in the second half, but I thought Quickly had one in the third quarter. I could be wrong, but it's funny because this is kind of the opposite problem they've been having. Like the defense, like Scotty's defense was really good today as like a microcosm of the team. But yeah, they held the Celtics to 106. So, without Jaylen Brown. But yeah, like in the fourth quarter, Boston just kept missing like so many bunnies, and the Raptors kept missing bunnies. It wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing game. The Celtics were up for like most of it, probably by about like 10 or so. I felt like was like the average gap, but it felt like a much wider gap than that. But to the Raptors' credit, they closed it out a little bit in the fourth quarter. But my fuck, could not hit a 3 against a team that specializes in hitting threes. The Celtics, I've said this before, but the Celtics play the exact opposite of how my high school coach played us. So I kind of love the Celtics for that because his system sucked shit. But, tonight, Celtics 16 for 39 from 3, 41%. So Celtics hit 16 threes, Raptors hit 4 threes. You don't have to be great at math to figure out how that one went. Raptors shot 40% from the field. Celtics shot 40% from the field. So it's just where the shots came from. So yeah, both teams, not great shooting performances from either team. It's good defense from both teams. Thought Scotty played really good defense. Quickly played really good defense. Schroeder played really good defense. Who am I forgetting? Jonte Porter, not as much. He got into foul trouble. He picks up a lot of fouls. He gets baited into pumps quite a bit. Like I think Porzingis got him 2 or 3 times for fouls on pumps that he bit. So that's something that it's got to get cleaned up. I missed the TSN pregame show, so if anybody in the chat wants to let me know what I missed, very sad to have missed the TSN pregame show. I feel like I'm going into this thing blind, but I did hear Jack call Siakam the top guy, which I thought was interesting. We had Matt Devlin's schedule talk, which is always great. I love the 2 to 3 minute talk about the schedule and how it's tough going from east to west and from west to east. It's great stuff. And so yeah, like starting off in the game, we have no Gary in this one. I don't know what happened to Gary. Again, I missed the pregame show, so going into this blind. We had Jonte Porter starting. I thought he had a pretty weak start to this game in general. Just didn't picking up fouls, getting beat on defense, and the Raptors were just really sluggish. For the first bucket came at 9:20 of the first quarter. So RJ Barrett, who was being really aggressive. I think him and Quickly combined for like 48, 49 points. So yeah, he was really the only. It was a rough start for Porter. He got blocked a couple times as well, and they just weren't like getting a lot of ball movement on offense. and a lot of just ISO plays, and the shots weren't falling, so it was pretty ugly in my opinion. And then you got McDaniels coming at 407, which, I mean, I guess that's just where they're at. Uh, I'm not the coach or anything, but I would probably cast a net to the 905 at this point. I know McDaniels had the big game against Boston a few weeks ago that I made a little highlight package of and released it right as OG got traded, so that didn't take off really. But you had Devlin singing his praises, saying he had a huge game last game. In garbage time, he again, as I talked about before, 10 free throws in 8 minutes. You can't beat that efficiency. Devlin's a huge McDaniels fan, I think. Jack, not so much. Jack, for some reason, McDaniels is the one guy he'll just shred, but Devlin's Devlin's got a lot of McDaniels stock. I think Devlin just loves everybody. So yeah, it's kind of hard to know who he actually loves when, what's the old phrase, if you, whatever, Anyways, weird game from those two tonight, kind of, especially in the first half. A lot of weird rants. But anyways, Barrett, we had Barrett looking at White a little bit. So I don't know if they were, RJ Barrett. He plays with a little bit of that edge. He's got a little how Gary used to play, which is cool. Although Gary did get into it with Kuminga, which I am potentially working on a video for. Also working on a Anthony Davis, RJ Barrett video. Speaking of RJ Barrett, I no longer think AD flopped. I got a copy of his workout video, and wow. Let's just say that your oldest relative can do what AD does in the gym, and it was labeled an intense workout. So I no longer think it was a flop. Video incoming on that, but yes, I've done a 180 on that. But we had some runs in this game. The Raptors had a 9-0 run to close the first quarter, which was kind of random but cool. And then on defense, they were switching things up a lot. I thought Porter kind of struggled with that. Like, they'd go into zone, and then next possession he would get caught out on an island with Derek White. I don't know if that was the design of the defense, but that was one of the reasons he kind of struggled tonight, because he would kind of get dragged out to the perimeter, and then when he was at the rim, he was just a little bit slow, biting on pump fake. So I think on defense, it's going to be, he's got a little bit of an adjustment, especially now getting these big minutes. You had Thad Young, didn't get a point in this game, but he had like 6 or 7 assists. So he's a good like guy to throw in as like a stopgap, just so things don't get embarrassing. But you do miss Jakob Poeltl. They did play better when he was playing for this little stretch. He has good chemistry with Barrett and Quickly, with more of a guard focused lineup. And then of course with the OG trade, you've got Scotty now guarding like Tatum for like the whole game. And I thought Scotty did a good job on Tatum in general, and he had like 13 rebounds in this game, 3 steals. Only put up 10 though, and that's kind of been a bit of the story. He had a few turnovers too late in the game. I don't know if he looked tired, but there was one play which was like weird for me, I guess, because he got a turnover and then he was like super fired up. Like, he was visibly just like gonna go insane. Like when he was like a few weeks ago when he screamed at Chris Boucher, that's like how he looked. And then he took Porzingis. I don't know if people remember this play. It was in the fourth quarter. He had Porzingis like about the foul line, say 14, 15 feet out in the middle, and then just like, you knew that he was going to kill Porzingis like the second he got the ball, because he was still pissed off of this turnover. And I wonder if it's like exhaustion from playing defense, but it's like, if you're only scoring 10 points, and on that play it was like so obvious that he was going to score, and he did it, and he like willed himself, and it's like one of the highlights of the game. But as someone watching it, it's like, is he too tired to do that more often? And like, why is it the turnover that's being like the motivator for this? I mean, obviously it's natural. Most dangerous guy on the floor is the guy who just turned it over, but it's kind of, you were kind of waiting for him to go off a little bit, and it just offensively didn't come. But again, he's playing great defense, so it's a tricky situation. I think with all the trade rumors, you probably want to prioritize like another defensive wing so that Scotty doesn't have to play 33 minutes guarding Tatum. I guess he doesn't have to, but I mean, it makes sense. And I guess word on the street is that's what he wants too. So, but yeah, the production point, especially like point production has dipped. I think that has more to do with his defense and less to do with the trade. I know some people, I don't know. I hate when the dunker spot just like finds the dumbest thing to ever talk about on Twitter and then talks about it. So I'm gonna try not to do more of that. I might read the chat later though. But yeah, so then Q3, Raptors come out 10-0 run, just pushing in transition, like viciously pushing in transition, just getting so many buckets, like not like necessarily fast break, but like 4-on-3, 5-on-4s, just getting to the rim mostly. I mean, they only hit 4 threes. Getting to the rim mostly in transition and finishing. And they actually took the lead in the start of the third quarter, and it kind of felt like, damn, are they going to pull this one out? They do seem to, for some reason, play the Celtics much better than like the Jazz, for example, just the last year or so. So it had that feeling of, are they going to maybe pull it out? But then the Celtics just kind of went nuts at the end of the third, and the Raptors could just never come back after that, even though the Celtics totally shot the bed at the end, went like 4 minutes of those scoring at the end of the fourth. But yeah, the end of the third there, they just went off, like namely Derek White and Jason Tatum were just kind of going nuts, like back end of the third quarter. They went on a 20-4 run, and the kind of pinnacle for me was at that's why I had to put him in the thumbnail, but at 25 seconds of the third quarter, Luke Cornett, like Boucher has probably, I guess not with Wembanyama anymore, but like with the way he shoots it, like the highest or one of the highest shot releases. And the famous Cornett closeout was enough to make that a miss. And that was kind of probably my favorite moment of the game. You've got Horford and Cornett, because they play a lot of zone, so they're like the corner guys. And with Cornett, like he doesn't even have to close out, he just like sticks his arms up in the air, and it's enough to deter people. I mean, he looks like someone who's like in Better Call Saul. I just kept thinking about that in the game, like if you make him a little bit smaller maybe, but it works for him. He just puts his arms up in the air. He's got massive wingspan, kind of does like the taco fall against Kyle Lowry inbounds pass. But yeah, even for a guy like Boucher who's got a comically high release point, it still is effective. So that was my favorite moment of this game, I think. Second was probably Schroeder carrying a shoe for a possession. I thought that was pretty funny. I think normally guys just like let it go and then go get it after, but he was carrying it around with him. So it was pretty cool. I think it's a German thing. I don't know, but I think players when the shoe comes off, AD shoes come off a lot. Mentioning AD before, AD RJ Barrett video coming out sometime soon. And then the Raptors go on an 8-0 run. I thought Schroeder was being really nice offensively, but the rest of the offense, I mean, Pascal was chucking up threes. He was 0 for 5 from 3 tonight, and quickly missed a couple of bunnies. RJ Barrett missed the bunny, quickly missed a 3, and the Celtics, they had enough of a cushion because the Celtics, I mean, they were missing like everything at the end of the fourth quarter, but they built up enough of that cushion from the end of the third quarter going on the 20-4 run. The Raptors just like couldn't climb the mountain. And this has to be the worst game from 3. I would think that has to be the worst game of the year. Maybe somebody in the chat can clarify with me, but that I don't know if any other team has gone 4 for 32 from 3. Again, I put in the title 13%. It's actually 12.5. I was being nice to the Raptors. I didn't want to put a decimal point, make it messy. But yeah, 12.5% from 3. Again, both teams shot 40% from the field, so big difference in this game was where the shots came from. Free throw there's no free throw discrepancy, but the Celtics, hit their free throws at a 92% clip, Raptors at 76. So yeah, and like no one on the Celtics went nuts. Like Tatum had 19, Derek White 22, Holiday 22, and then the rest 10, 15, 7, blah blah blah. Again, like this was not a Tatum cooking game. Tatum only 7 for 19. So it was, again, you're seeing these great defensive performances from Scott Barnes in a lot of these games. And it's just unfortunate because now it feels like he kind of has to pick his spots on offense. Or at least that's what it kind of looks like. Obviously, no one knows what's going on internally, but yeah, it's kind of a weird situation because we've heard that he wants these assignments, but at the same time, like if they're gonna make some trades, you would assume that someone who could guard Tatum for a few minutes in a game would be a valuable piece to have back. So probably finding some kind of balance on that. But in general, I guess like this is a weird game. Like you can't really be mad at it in one sense because you lost by 9 points, or what is it? Yeah, 9 points to the best team in the East and top 3 team in the league. You'll take that, especially with, well, I guess they had Brown out, but with one of your starters out. But on the other hand, nobody wants to watch a 4 for 30. Let me just read these out again because I had fun reading them the first time. Siakam I thought it was 0 for 5, 0 for 6. Siakam 0 for 6, Barnes 0 for 2, Porter 0 for 2, Barrett 0 for 4, Quickly 2 for 7, Young 0 for 1, Boucher 0 for 4, McDaniels 1 for 3, Schroeder 1 for 3. So again, we got Scotty taking 2 threes. I mean, he had 15 in that game a few weeks ago that Alvin, and maybe Scotty listened to Alvin Williams because Alvin Williams on the broadcast. I sure hope he doesn't fall in love with the 3-ball. So he only took 2 threes tonight, Alvin. So I guess Alvin's happy about that. Randy Urban's still not happy with me, but that's okay. I mean, again, Scotty 13 rebounds in this game. The Raptors did pretty good on the boards. They had 9 offensive rebounds. I feel like they had more shots too. I mean, yeah, the Celtics had 82 shots. The Raptors had 95. So they did pretty much everything right, other than like the ball movement was lacking, and then the 3-ball just. I mean, if they make all their free throws, you could also add 7 points, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. It's kind of weird how they play the Celtics better though than like other teams. It's kind of a weird matchup. I mean, if they shoot 18% from 3, they win the game. 4 for 32 is like crazy. That's 1 a quarter. Somebody in the chat maybe can tell me, somebody, that has to be a record for this year. I mean, has there been a team that's either gone that bad from like 13% from 3 or only made 4? Ryan H. Cape Your Nest just learned who Derek White was today. Is that what I missed on the pregame show? Yeah, she rocks, man. I don't know. I think she just must like hike all day or something, and just I don't know. She's she's something else, man. Devin Smith, worst shooting game from 3 of the year. We came close to Portland, 13.8% in November. Wow. Yeah. So it's at least. Or no, it is worse than that. I was gonna say at least it's not that bad, but it's it's worse. 13 is worse than 13.8. I guess you'd round that up to 14. Is this the worst I feel like I'm just riffing at this point on this, but like I gotta think in the last 5 years, like definitely in the 90s there would be games like this, 2000s there'd be games like this, but in the post Steph Curry era, how many times, trivia question for folks that I don't have the answer to, the whiz of the quiz. Ugh. Ugh. How many times has a team gotten 4 threes in a game? Vegan Grass says starter shot 9.5 from three, 2 for 21. And I think those were all Quickly's threes, the two. Left Brissett wide open from three, didn't bother to contest it. Siakam hasn't been a very good defender in a while, says Gertrude. Man, but this season is particularly worse. Just played today. Yeah, his defense has slipped. I don't think he was ever like an amazing defender, but he's always been like a plus on that end. And you would hope, like, did Siakam have any possessions against Tatum tonight? I don't believe so, or maybe if off a switch or something, but it is kind of disappointing that the guy who Jack Armstrong said is the top guy, by the way, just that you can't like put him on a guy like Tatum for a little bit. It's tough, you know. Maybe later too. I've been watching some prospect tape. You know, there's all these prospects and trade rumors that the Raptors, you know, Kuminga, Moody, Mathurin, Jarris Walker. I mean, they're all untouchable, but I was watching a bunch of their just like random possessions and trying to see like patterns, what I like, what I didn't like. So maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Ryan H. Siakam's 100% getting traded. 100% by the end of the month. The chat giveth, the chat taketh away. I do think he's getting traded, but 100% is crazy. I can barely dress myself in the morning, and you have 100%. I mean, Troy Knights. He's spending 30% of possessions guarding the opponent's best player. That's it? 30% of his possessions? Troy Knights? 30? I think it's more like 80. Where are you getting 30 from? Show me, Troy. Troy. I knew a guy named Troy in grade 1, and he would wear like Power Rangers and like Toy Story pajamas, and he would always wet like everything all the time. Like that was his shtick. So whenever I think of Troy, that's where my brain goes. Sorry, Troy Knights. Cool guy though. Summer Low. What made the mistake on Derek White? Who made the mistake on the Derek White 3 at the end? I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember the shot. He was in the corner. He was open. I know it's been a talking point forever, but you know the Raptors gave 2 firsts to the Spurs and didn't get Derek White. Good evening, says Devin Smith. Or no, that's 3 Design. I mean, in this game, you know, Raptors
Derek
4
White
for
at the end.
4 for 32 from 3. And it's kind of, again, like as I said before, they did pretty much everything else well. I was shooting pretty well from 3 today myself. Pretty icy on the courts, so I had to take like my weed dropper bottle thing and like smash the ice so I could shoot above the break threes, because the sun, I guess, was like being hidden from behind the hoop, so like directly in front of the rim. It's just like frozen, so I had to figure that out. And I have a story about that because it was kind of funny because a bunch of people ended up showing up, which seems to always happen. So I have more stories on that. But yeah, this game, like, I don't know what the better strategy is, because you've got guys like Scotty only taking 2 threes. I mean, quickly taking 7 is probably about right. Like last game, he had 3. He was 3 for 3 from 3 against the Jazz. So you want him to get more threes, but like 7 is decent. And then yeah, it was a rough game for Porter. It's like just didn't seem to, the fouls really kind of got him in trouble. And then only 2 points in 15 minutes. Got blocked a few times. Made a few nice passes. Him and Thad kind of have a similar like processing of the game. Like I think Mike Ehrman-Trout would be a big Jonte Porter guy. Just at the end of the day, Walter does the right thing. At the end of the day, you're gonna have your game. You're gonna miss some threes, but at the end of the day, okay, sorry. That's not. Is that a very good mark? Give me a rating on my Mike Ehrman-Trout. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it from my notes. Oh yeah, I did notice. So yeah, so at 6-12, Scotty gets really frustrated after the turnover, and cooks Tatum. I said earlier he cooked Porzingis. He cooked Tatum, and I wrote down he went Drew Hanlon on Jason Tatum. Like he did the stuff that Drew Hanlon teaches everybody. But it was a very like Jason Tatum style move against Jason Tatum. And again, that was one of those points in the game where you could tell he was so frustrated. He just kicked it into a second gear. And the question you got to ask is like, is he not doing that more often on offense because he's so exhausted? Or is it the previous kind of thing of the aggression questions? So, but yeah, either way, only took 2 threes tonight. You want him more involved offensively, and is it kind of comes down to that question of like, is it worth it having him guard Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Steph Curry, blah 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 blah, all this stuff, if it's going to take away that much from the offensive end? Like you kind of as a coaching staff have to figure that out, but they're in a tough situation because at the same time Pascal has not been there defensively like he should be this year. So, and then what are you going to do? Throw McDaniels in there? It's not like there's an easy answer to this, but that's definitely going to be a question. Again, I'm not the 100% guy. I know some people in the chat are like 100%ers or whatever, but like Ryan's a 100% guy. Hermes Curry, bro, didn't want to ruin my high, so I just started cooking some ramen. That was depressing to watch. Straight to the bench after that. Yeah, I was hitting some threes today, so at least that was good. It was like just as I was kind of getting. I know I told the story about same court about the family that came and stood inside the 3-point line as I was shooting, and how I got like internally pissed. Today was kind of a funny situation. I hope the person isn't watching this. I don't know what the odds of that are. Probably pretty low, but you never know. But they showed up with a group of kids, probably like 7, 8 years old or something. And the court's like really icy. You got to be really careful. So not like the best conditions. And when I'm shooting, like I'm like shooting from the same spot, like over and over again. I'm just kind of like not paying attention to anything else. And so these kids are like, I can tell that they're like watching me. They're kind of running around. They're being kind of rambunctious, but not like crazy or anything. And then the coach kind of like, he didn't snap, but he got into this place. I don't know if you've ever had coaches like this, but it's like when the kids don't listen, they feel like invalidated, and then they take their anger out on the kids. And that's kind of what he was doing, where he's like, I take time out of my day to coach you kids, and you're running around here, you're being disrespectful, you're not listening to me, and I'm part of what I'm coaching you to do is how to learn, and you're not learning how to learn when you're running around like this, and it's really disrespectful, and I took time out of my day to coach you guys. And I'm just like inside my head, I'm like laughing as I'm just like hitting above the break threes. And then I go to rock a piss. I come back and they're like, he's got some kids like right where I was shooting. And I don't care. Like I'll walk right next to the kid. I'll just start shooting my threes. Like whatever. I pretend I don't even see them basically. And then he's like, oh kids, like come back, whatever. Uh, and then he was like giving them instructions, being like, okay. And I don't wear headphones because I've blown out my ears basically. So he's like, okay, first off, lesson one of basketball. There's two types of passes. And I'm like, no, there isn't. So it's like, what do you do in that situation? I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm like trying not to listen. And he keeps doing the like, pay attention to me, please. I took time out of my day to be here, please. You guys ever have coaches like that where, because I take it personally. I'm like, someone entrusted this person. See, I see the world through Michael Jordan lens, where it's like someone entrusted this person over me, even though I never applied to do this. I would never apply to do this. They chose this person over me to like teach the fundamentals of basketball. So I'm taking that personally. And that's gonna be the chip on the shoulder for that 5, 10, 15 minutes. Because then they ended up leaving after not that long. But it was an icy court, like really slippery. I was like tiptoeing around. I almost biffed it. Like I went 3 times in the last few days where it's been frozen, and he had them running up and down the court. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's like. So there's 2 types of passes, and we're gonna do laps while it's fucking icy. In my head, I'm just like, chest pass. You got your bounce pass. You got your overhead pass. You got like your one-armed hit-ahead pass. It's more than 2 passes. Did I say bounce pass? That's another one. If you guys heard of that one. Alana B, I don't think our guys practice threes. Not like me. That's for damn sure. Man, I was cooking today. I finally got, so the last couple days, the straight above the break threes, like the court was frozen because the sun wasn't getting through the back, like the backboard was blocking the sun. So right in front of the hoop, it was all just frozen. But then 3 feet each to the side, you could shoot. So the last few days, I've just been shooting like, off 1.5, 2 feet over to the side. Today it was finally warm enough. This Vancouver people, Toronto people don't understand how hard like a centimeter of snow hits in Vancouver. But I was able today to finally chip away in the pavement to get the above the break 3 thing, not to be an ice skating rink. And man, it was nice because when you can line that up right on the above the break 3, like when you get that hip right in the teeth of the rim, all you really have to do is have your elbow and your hip connected and then get the hand like flat under. And then if you just do a straight tricep extension, it's like you can get kids to look at you and make their coach pissed, basically is what I'm saying. And that's all that I want. That's all that I care about. That's all that I want. That's how small and petty my life is. If the person who was there today is watching this, I do apologize. But yeah, what would you guys do in that situation if like you're at the court and someone is teaching something that because I was talking to this guy. He's from Toronto, actually. This was like a year and a half ago or something. And I've put like, I stopped playing for like 9-10 years pretty much. Like, so I've had to like relearn a lot of stuff more recently. And so I've really focused on like 3-point mechanics, 3-point blah, 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 heavy balls, resistance bands, all this stuff. Watched a lot of the Drew Hanlon, shot. I don't ever watch. I would like, if you put a gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to watch one of those fucking videos on YouTube. But it's like, the Raptors just figured out is this the solution for the future? And it's like this guy versus that guy, and then there's like 2 words capitalized in the title with like an arrow, and somebody's like I would choose torture over watching that. But I do watch like the nerdy, like, oh, here's the 23 ways that MJ would spin off of a person in the mid range or something. Like I'll watch all that stuff. But anyway, so I never say anything at the core. Like I'm antisocial. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just leave me alone. I'm here so that I don't take my own life. It's the only reason I leave the house basically. So just let me if I'm shooting threes, don't stand inside the 3-point line and commentate. Oh, he missed it. Oh, he missed another one. Oh, he switched it. Oh, he missed again. Wow, he missed another one. Just leave me alone. Let me be. Let me do my Mike Ehrmantraut thing. But one time I was talking to this guy. He's from Toronto, and he didn't have a great 3-ball. And not that it wasn't going in, but like you see how Schroeder rotates his hips. Not many NBA players rotate their hips like that. Actually, Steph Curry did in his early days, and that's like I don't know if that was the hardest thing for him to weed out, but that was something he consciously weeded out. Like they figured out that when he turned his hips, his 3-point percentage dropped by like 20% or something. Very few players turn their hips like Schroeder does, for example. So this guy, he was doing like Schroeder times 3. Like this guy was starting out. I don't understand why people do this. You lose so much power, but anyways. So he's like starting out, and like as he's shooting, he's just like he's on a merry-go-round or something, and he's just like turning his hips to such an insane level. And his like release didn't look that bad. There's elements of it that didn't look that bad. And I just kind of suggested to him, and I used the Steph Curry example. He did not appreciate that. He did not appreciate that. And they were bad shots. Like bad, like not even like air balls, but like missing by 18 feet. And I told them about the Steph Curry like not moving your hips thing. Make a chain from your hip to the rim, namely the tooth of the rim if you're really locked in, because most rims have 7 teeth on them if you really want to get locked in. And we were having a decent banter, and then after it was just the energy totally shifted after that. Totally shifted. I'm never talking to anyone ever again on a basketball court. Alana B. Only reason we manage again with the we. I'm not on the team yet, but just let me get to the 905. Let me get to the tryouts. I'll hit some threes, and then I can finally say we when I'm talking about the Raptors. I will fix the Toronto Raptors 3-point woes. Get me in the gym with Grady. Turn him into Dolph Lundgren. I love that Matt Devlin, and I don't remember what point in the game it was, but he was like, I wonder if, you know, the Raptors, they're down Gary. You'd really miss Gary on a night like tonight, which you would. And then out of nowhere, he's just like, and Grady. You miss a guy like Grady in this game. You miss a guy that can, bust up a zone. I think it was funnier when I don't know. Am I too on the nose with the Devlin broadcast stuff? But yeah, some interesting. I guess when you have to talk for 90 minutes, I mean, I'd probably say some pretty insane dumb shit on this thing too. Someone wants to make a compilation. But anybody, what had happened in the pregame show? Someone mentioned Cape Ness with the pregame show. Derek White, something with Derek White. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with the pregame show now. Sometimes it's like I want to watch it because it's funny to talk about, but then I also it's a pregame show. So was Sam Mitchell on there at least tonight? But yeah, I think that's pretty much. It's like I think that's pretty much it. The Jakob situation's not great with him being out. The trade. I guess we talk about trade stuff. But I just wanted to close the notes from this game with. I think the kind of headline for this, and maybe it should have been the thumbnail instead of the Luke Cornett closeout, but that was my favorite moment of the game, was the Luke Cornett, the infamous Luke Cornett closeout, symbolized the Raptors not being able to hit because it worked against Chris Boucher, whose release point is like in the upper deck of the stadium. So it's in the concourse, and it's still eluded him. So that was just my favorite. That was my favorite lasting image, was a Luke Cornett closeout, stopping a Raptor 3. But I think the thesis for this game, and what I probably could have led with in the thumbnail / headline, is at what point, like, it's great. Tatum had 19 points. Scottie played good defense on Tatum. He was 7 for 19 from the field. That's great. But it's like, at what point do you have to maybe, like, are you sacrificing too much on the defensive end for the offensive end? That's one of those kind of impossible coaching problems, because if you take him away from that, and he's said to have wanted that role, so it's not like they're, throwing him into the fire and like, what the fuck? Like, apparently, this has been reported. He wants this. Like, this is what he wants. So you would hope that a defensive person, at least one, comes back in any trade, which let's talk trades. I watched some film, studied some film. So some of the big names are Kuminga, Moses Moody. I guess Pajemski isn't talked about as much, but you would kind of think maybe he'd be one of the names. Nembhard, Mathurin, Jarris Walker. These are all names that get, brought up, talked about. Of course, you've got Warriors being like, yeah, we don't want to give away Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, but we do want to win more championships. So we just want everything. If we're to, like, that's what like the Golden State kind of front office message seems to always be, is like, we just want everything. We want young guys. We want to keep the dynasty. What was the specific wording? Was they would be loathed. This time of year is when, the big words come out. They would be loathed to trade Kuminga, and obviously Kuminga went to Human Resources, started the next game against the Raptors, didn't close the game. I think it was last game, and a lot of people were kind of up in arms about that. Kerr continues to kind of be going against what management is saying publicly. It kind of reminds me of like a little bit with like Masai and Nick, about how Nick would never play the young guys, and now it's kind of a similar situation, but obviously the talent. This isn't Malachi Flynn and Precious or Delano Banton. I mean, these are, good players. And I think it's really important also when evaluating these guys, like, how well do they fit? I think Kuminga has the most noise around him and seems to be the person that's like valued the most. I know Masai has liked him in the past. I don't love the fit though with the current Raptors team. And that's like nothing against Kuminga. It's not, I wouldn't bet against Kuminga for being a good prospect, but alongside with what the Raptors are trying to build, not necessarily who they are today, but like who they're going to be in the future, with Scottie obviously, and then quickly Barrett probably, and then the rest of them, I mean, who the fuck knows, but and then in conjunction with Darko, now he, is rumored or likes to play. I think with Kuminga, he's super athletic, super strong, but that doesn't always transfer on his drives, which is obviously something you can get better at. But I feel like he doesn't do great through contact, and he's not necessarily like putting all of his strength to the right use. Like you saw it with OG a lot. I'm not saying he's OG, but that same kind of idea where it's like, you're this strong, you should be able to, like, I think he was like 60, could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, like 63% at the rim or something, which it's not bad, but like for, top 10, top 15 athlete, at least probably in the NBA, you would hope that would be better. The three ball has never really taken off for him, and it doesn't look amazing. It's not like a horrible looking shot. with the Raptors shooting woes. Not really sure about that. Um, but one thing I did really like about his game that I was kind of surprised with in watching some of the tape is watching video clips, is his mid range is actually pretty nice. And he's like Matherin, where I think he shoots better from like 10 to 16 than 3 to 10. It's kind of one of those weird things. But yeah, the mid range is kind of nice, especially he has that shot where he goes to the right, kind of like Schroeder does. He's got that down. Seems to be pretty. Like a few times when I was watching it, I was just like, "Oh, don't do that," and then it goes in. Oh, another one. Oh, another one. Oh, another one went in. Okay. But again, in general, obviously he's going to run the floor really well. He's not a great assist guy, not like a high IQ kind of. Like he's much more of like a finisher type player. It's not like a horrible fit. Like it's not terrible. It wouldn't be like an oh my god what are you doing situation, but it's also not like oh this is a great fit. With Moses Moody, I haven't gotten around to him yet. It seems to be more noise around Kuminga. I kind of think that Moody's more like a Warriors type player, especially with the three ball and kind of more guard skills. You could see them just, my own guessing. That's all you can really do at this point. You really see them wanting to hang on to those types of players more. And maybe not, but again, they did take Wiseman over LaMelo, so who knows? I'm sad that Wiseman and Bagley aren't on the same team anymore. I love that they're on the same team. That was special. By the way, shouts to the Pistons, undefeated in the post Bagley era. So congrats to them for that. Podziemski, if he's going to be in the deal, he had really really poor game against the Raptors, but don't know his number. I don't know if his three is cooled off, but he was shooting 40% from three. Not on crazy volume, but still 40% from three not that long ago. I haven't watched a ton of tape on him, ton of clips on him. But obviously, incredible rebounder, really high IQ player, great playmaker. I do think he fits what the Raptors want to do a lot better than Kuminga does. I'm not saying that he's and this is, the age-old, this is why GMs make $1 billion a year, is like, what do you value and how much do you value? Same with drafting as well. It's almost like, in the top 7 or 8, pretty much most GMs will just take talent over fit or upside over fit. But then after that, you take fit, or you take fit more than upside if you're, later on. Maybe you don't. GM, again, it's nothing is a monolith in this, but in general, that's kind of how it works. And then with team building, it's the same thing. It's like, if you're Masai, how do you kind of decide? And obviously contracts are a part of it too, but like in general, how do you decide like what aspect to be bullish on? Is it to get something that fits better or to get something with upside? It's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's a tough question, but I think Kuminga has more upside, but I think Podziemski is probably a better fit. Like Podziemski almost has a Derek White type of vibe to him. I think I'd say it's like a decent comp. I don't know if the defense is quite there, but kind of the same player archetype. Really high IQ guard, really good rebounder, has the three ball, not going to make a lot of mistakes, right place, right time. Maybe not crazy flashy, but efficient, effective. And he's like the one young guy that Steve Kerr like doesn't hate. So I do need to look at more moves. Oh wow. Whew, that was gonna be a bad one. Wow. Did I stop the train? I was about to do a Kendrick Perkins. Wow. Moses Moody. I do need to watch some more Moses Moody tape to have a take on it. But shifting to the Pacers, Jarris Walker. So I know another and by the way, all these guys are untouchable. These are all cornerstones of the franchise, totally untouchable. But just for fun, Jarris Walker. The one thing that really he's had a few G League game. Spent most of his playing time in the G League. Hasn't really made the roster in Indiana. Is that troubling? Kind of. Um, it's the sixth or seventh or eighth pick. Eighth, no, six, seven, right? I can't remember. Right after Koulibaly, 7. Was he the 7th pick? Taylor Hendricks, Koulibaly, anyways, around 6 to 8. So it's a little bit worrisome. There's been a few games where he's gotten like 38 points in the G League, and the three ball's going in. The thing with him is there's a huge dip on his shot. This is what I don't really understand with, like, he's a strong guy. Like, he's really strong. He's almost like what you would want Precious Achiuwa to, like, if Precious Achiuwa, like that archetype, I know that's not a great sell, but like he's a better, much more high IQ. He's like a high IQ Precious Achiuwa. So I guess he's not really like Precious in that sense then, but better defender, really good help defender. The thing that I like about him is he's going to take some of that defensive load off of Scotty. That's big, I think, in my opinion. Where it's trying for me is the 3-ball. I mean, it's so slow. And what I don't understand about, guys that's like, he's really strong. Like he's yoked. Like he's NBA body. I don't understand why you need to like dip your whole body down to shoot a 3. And obviously that's something that can be weeded out, but it's also kind of worrisome, I would say, and that's probably the biggest hit on him in the draft, I think, is the outside shooting. And yeah, mechanically it's rickety. It looks kind of Scoot Henderson-ish, who, by the way, when you combine, I know it's early, but it's kind of fun. When you combine field goal percentage and 3-point percentage among rookies, Scoot Henderson's 53rd. Keontae George is 52nd. Grady's 50th. Wembanyama's 48th. Asar Thompson's 47th or 46th. So some pretty big names. The top was Chet was number 1 with a bullet. Hawkes was right up there. Lively was up there. I don't know how they weight the 3-point plus the field goal, but anyways, #basketball, really good website. Anyways, Jarris Walker. So really good help defender. He's going to slide over, get lots of blocks. Good on-ball defender too, but really thrives in that help role. Would take a lot of defensive pressure off Scotty. And if he's in a Siakam trade, he's kind of like what you would hope Siakam would be on defense as that kind of big body type of guy who in theory should be a good help defender, but just isn't. Pretty good fit, but with him, it's really early. Like if the 3-ball comes, it's a great fit. If it doesn't, again, it's not a horrible fit. It's kind of like the Kuminga thing. It's not like a horrible fit, but it's also not super, super ideal. Ben Mathurin. So I have this weird thing with Ben Mathurin where, and I know it's just me because the numbers don't back it up, but every time I turn on a Pacer game, I'm just watching Ben Mathurin miss shots. Like it's some weird curse that every time I click on a Pacer game randomly, I'm just gonna tune into a Pacer game, I just see him missing shots and taking bad shots. Like 18 seconds left in the shot clock, one dribble, sidestep, contested, 17 feet on the baseline. I mean, I like taking the shots, but it's not really like a super sexy NBA shot. The 3-ball has gone from 32% in year 1 to 38%, so 6% jump. You do really like that. If you can hit 3-ball at a 38% clip, I do think that's great. The decision making though is tough. Not very many assists. In my opinion, a lot of bad shots. Now that could be system dependent. I mean, if you're a bad shots guy, the Pacers are the team for you. Rick Carlisle has had a spiritual awakening. and it's just like, fuck it, we're gonna get 150, we're gonna put up 150 burger every game, and it's gonna not be always that pretty. But so I think he's kind of in a context where that's how people play, and it's kind of tough to analyze because he's never been on another team before in the NBA. But yeah, there's just a lot of, and then watching clips over again, just a lot of like, you're taking that shot. And then on defense, not doing much for you there. So again, it's not like the worst fit, but it's not like an amazing fit. Maybe it is. A lot of these guys are still so young too. Like, you just don't have, like, it's harder to analyze because these aren't the Derek Whites, for example, or the Jakob Poeltls. Even there's not a ton of data. Brandon Podziemski's played like 35 NBA games. Jarris Walker's played like 5 NBA games. And then Andrew Nembhard, I mean, in theory, he's got the shooting, obviously. He's got a mid-range game. I did watch his mid-range sequences right after watching Shea's mid-range sequences. I don't really know why. It's just like they kind of have similar movement, like body movement. Maybe it's a Canadian thing because Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if you kind of like shut your brain off once in a while or all the time like me and you watch, he has like these just little movements that look like Shea. Like, it's these little like split second type things. And I think Nembhard kind of has flashes of that as well. Again, maybe it's a Canadian thing. A lot of more yoga up here, I think. The guys aren't as stiff up here. But I know, like, one thing with him I noticed, the three ball is obviously good, but and of course watching Shea highlights, and then it's pretty tough act to follow. But with Shea, when he's in the mid range, like, he's not looking to get to a specific spot. He's not looking to necessarily beat a guy with speed to get to somewhere. And with him, because like I was watching, Shea 2-point makes unassisted. That's kind of the, how does he create? How does he eat? And you try to look for patterns. Like with where I'm going with this is Nembhard had a really clear pattern where he gets to 15 feet. He goes to his right, one dribble. You see Gary take a lot of those shots. One dribble, kind of fading off to the side. He really likes that spot. And he'll do that in 64% of his drives or whatever, or his mid-range shots. Whereas Shea just like doesn't care who's there. Like Rudy Gobert could be the closest guy, but if there's enough space, he identifies it from pretty far out, like from the 3-point line. He'll assess like where the space is, and it's so smart because space is one of the only things you can always count on being. There's only five players on defense. There's going to be space somewhere. And if you completely just pack the paint, then he'll just kick it out. But that's not really that feasible in today's NBA. But even when there's like 3 or 4 guys in the paint, there's still, 3-second rule. There's still going to be pockets and space. And so even if Gobert is like the closest guy, he'll get into that space and then he'll have like a creative finish to give him even more room, even more, space from say Gobert. And he's not deterred by that. Whereas, this is a really random rant, but I just, because I watched Nembhard and Shea next to each other. I'm not comparing the two, but I felt with Nembhard it was a little bit more pre-rehearsed. And again, he's playing in a context in Indiana where you just kind of have a green light. Now, I think with the Raptors, with where they're at, like, you would give him a pretty green light. The thing with that is, like, the Nembhard quickly fit is kind of weird. So it's like with Scottie, it's a good fit, but then with Quickly, it's not a good fit. So it's tough to know how much they're valuing the Quickly fit versus the Scottie fit. But I believe that they would, obviously really like to have him. So I don't think like any of these players, probably like Moody, maybe. but I think for the most part, like there's not enough sample data, and I'm not Sam Vecini, so this was this was my shitty little hey, I watched some videotape on these guys, but I do need to watch some Moody stuff. I need to watch more Pajemski stuff. But yeah, what do you guys? And I don't think. I mean, so for example, I don't think Masai is getting two of those guys from Golden State. Like I don't think you're getting Kuminga and Moody, or Moody and Pajemski, or Pajemski and Kuminga. From Indiana, I don't think you're getting Matherin and Jarris Walker, because there's probably going to be picks along with that as well. Like I'm kind of saying this with the context of, say, I don't know, 2 first-round picks and then 2. And I think that's more of a contract situation. Like if he was locked up in a 4-year deal, if they had done that, I think you just get a lot more for him. So it's more contract dependent, context dependent. I do think there are just like Michael Pina. He wrote that Devin Booker. He asked if Devin Booker was the best point guard in the NBA, like better than Luka and Steph. He's a ringer writer, but he proposed like a Lou Dort center trade for Siakam. So I mean, stuff like that's just crazy. He also, by the way, recently wrote an article. It's like 8 players leveling up this year, like having a breakout year, and Patrick Williams was one of them, but Scotty wasn't. So that was that's Michael Pino. So it's probably I'll never be a national whole NBA person, just focus on one team. But that's pretty much, that's what do you guys think in the chat? Who do you guys like? Where are the 100%ers? OG3, Shea also has crazy length and touch to get whatever type of shot he wants comfortably. I don't know. I think my breakdown was better, to be honest. I mean, of course he does. But I thought mine was more, I don't know. Okay. Anyways, OG3, Ben Matherin has Jaylen Brown tendencies, but still super talented. Jaylen Brown. I could kind of see that. I don't think Brown takes that many bad shots though. Like I think he's such a good shooter that like Matherin hasn't leveled up to that point as a scorer yet. I know he really wants to be, and that's probably a decent like archetype or like goal for him to set. I mean, I remember he did say he wanted, or he was like, LeBron needs to prove to me or something. But that's not like the worst. That's like a high upside comp though. I would think. Vegan grass, Moody. Okay, thank you. This is the guy I always fucking forget when I'm talking about Scotty and Cade. Is it Monteverde? Is this the French language I'm butchering? Monteverde, whatever the fuck. Some basketball school. And I always forget who the third guy was who was in that, because Moses Moody was in the Scotty draft with Cade, I believe correctly, right? With how little Steve Kerr plays him, it feels like he's only been in the NBA for like a year. But yeah, he is like third year. So yeah, a little high school reunion. But more importantly, again, closing this thing, we hit an hour. Yay. Raptors, 12.5% from 3 tonight. I was nice and bumped it up to 13 for the title. Kept it clean with the decimal point. Pretty much everything else was good. They shoot 18% from 3 in this game, they win. So it's and it's weird because they'd been shooting the 3 ball so well in this stretch leading up to this game, and then this was more like someone mentioned the Portland game earlier this year. This had remnants of the Portland game where they were 13.8% from 3. So Yeah, shouts to Luke Cornett for the uh, amazing closeouts. But that's gonna do it. 4 for 32 from three. 4 for 32 from three. So that's 1 for 8 per quarter on average, I guess. Is that right? If my math is correct. No, yeah, something like that. Yeah. No Sam Mitchell tonight. Damn. Who was it? Kia. Kia's good. But I do like Sam Mitchell. I like Sam Mitchell, especially in Summer League, where he's just give him a couple drinks, just let him vibe, let him cook a little bit. I feel like he's the last guy in the world who like needs a host being like, why are you telling this really unique, engaging, and interesting, fun story about you getting Allen Iverson drunk before a game? Why are you telling this on TV? I'm getting in trouble for my producers here. Why are you telling this story on television? I don't know, because people are watching. I would not be able to. I would not be able to deal with a host. That's my wars with the host. I'm on a host war. I don't. It's like when you go to a restaurant. Do I need a host? I can figure out like. I guess you do sometimes. Like bigger restaurants, you get big reservations. Like sure, but it's kind of like the bellhop person like in Curb. It's like this is the light switch. This is the TV. This is the shower. The hot is to the right. The is to the left. It's like, welcome to the basketball game. It's in Toronto against the Celtics. The Raptors have whatever in the last few games, but tonight is this and blah, blah, blah. Over to you, Sam. And if you go 20 seconds off this fucking thing that we pre-planned out, I will cut you off with a fake laugh and a oh boy, because we have a program to do, buddy. I think the thing that drives me crazy is the pregame show. It's the exact same thing than they do before the game. Like even the same play breakdowns, and they don't just re-show the pregame show. They redo the whole thing. It's like it's not like, oh, are you really surprised with that clip? You just told it to me 13 minutes ago in the pregame show. The smartest people, man, behind the scenes. Again, I say this with all caveats of, I do blame Kate for the voice. That's not how she talks in real life. It's not how she talks at dinner parties. But just the hosts in general. But it's the people behind the scenes that are making the creative decisions, planning stuff out. But I mean, what am I doing? Not much better. Definitely not any better or much better. But I also don't have anybody like working for me or investments or anything. So, but yeah, I missed the pregame show today. So yeah, they should just riff. But I should stop riffing.